and our esteemed panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ushi, and welcome back from a very intense and informative session that we have in the morning. So we heard from technical experts and policymakers, regulators, and from the Gates Foundation in the morning. Now we would like to turn the table to you, the key market players, the industry stakeholders, to listen what you feel we should also incorporate, include, and be mindful of. To make an IIPS operational and successful in Bangladesh, we need everybody's owning of the process and the platform. So for today, I would like our esteemed panelists to begin with 3 common questions that I will ask each of them, but not in the sequence that we are sitting at. So I will start with you. And my question to each of the panelists will be, given the background, given all that is going on in Bangladesh in terms of digitalization and the growth, and at the same time, some of the fragmented progress that we have, what do you see as an industry player to be the opportunities of an IIPS in the Bangladesh market? That's the first one. And do you foresee any challenge in building and implementing a successful IIPS here? And one recommendation that you'd like to voice for Bangladesh Bank, who will be the technical lead for this whole process, that you would like them to know, to consider.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. I am from today morning session. I got a brief knowledge about the payment system, what's Bangladesh is going on. Now I can share my experience as an industry partner. From 2010, Bangladesh Bank start actually interoperable in banking system. Later on, they are gradually taking a lot of steps. These steps now being, we come a position. Today's morning session, our Honourable Governor says that every previous 10 years, cash requirement 10% was, now it is still 10% cash requirement increasing every year. But actually, what is happening here, we find that actually, if we are not moving to our digitalization, electronics fund transfer systems, in that cases, these cash requirement demands will be increases more higher than 10%. I think in this respect, we are we have a progress about our digital transformation. Actually, now we have some constant is still exist. Actually, whatsoever from our Pakistani bank payment systems saying shows there are a tremendous number of mobile apps user in banking customers. But in this respect, we can say that here in our banking sector, if we exclude MFS, banking sector, apps user is not up to the level to success these types of digital payment system, cashless, that means cashless system. In that cases, we can say that like from my bank, we are taking a initiative, a strategy to convert, make our customer. Now we have 26 million customers. These customers, from them, we are taking a strategy that significant number of customers to migrate it in the apps as a apps user. In that cases, we still now we can reach it 7 million customers we can migrate it. Like other banks like Das Bangla or some other banks, have some progress. Rest of the bank far lag behind. I think for build a cashless digital Bangladesh, in that cases, apps user need to be increases higher in banking, main stream banking. On the other hand, Bikash and Nogad, they have a success. They are, most of their customers, they can be able to migrate it in app systems from this banking sector. Now it is very important for all banks to make their customers converted as an apps user customer. In that cases, we can build a tremendous ecosystem in our payment systems. From my sides, Bangladesh Bank sides, I can say that we can have a separate segment of customers. Now, so far, NPSB customer, if we still we cannot interoperable with MFS. It is very essential for the Bangladesh Bank to take initiative MFS interoperable. On the other hand, Bangla QR, that is a very tremendous solution for merchant payment systems. I think it should be explored for all banks and MFS QR payments. Still, a significant MFS like Bikash and other QR merchant is not interoperable. It is also required from Bangladesh Bank take two initiative to build a cashless Bangladesh very soon. And my another challenges we are facing here that about digital literacy of our customers. The customers who are using their mobile apps or MFS services, they are due to their lack of knowledge. Sometimes they are faces with fraud and forgeries like transactions. In that cases, customer confidence, some cases it is deteriorating. So we have to. This is a big challenge for the banks to educate their customer. I think this is the position, scenario and position of the Bangladeshi banking sector. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Muslim Chaudhry. Do you have any recommendation for the central bank?
I have a recommendation for central banks for that. There are one ecosystem need to be developed that which will be all mobile, all banks and MFS, MFIS, they are connected with that system, and so that they can make a customer can avail services. Suppose that an MFS customer can make transaction with banking account, banking customer can make transaction with MFS. In that cases, I think it will be helpful for the customers, and it will build the cashless Bangladesh inshallah gradually. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That is actually the goal of creating a cohesive, integrated ecosystem so that there's interoperability. Now I would turn back to Mr. Chaudhry, Muslim Chaudhry, who's from Shonali Bank. You're the president of Shonali Bank PLC. Same questions for you as well. What do you see as the opportunities, any challenges given your very long experience in this sector, and one recommendation for Bangladesh Bank?
Thank you very much. In fact, making some integrated interoperable system, definitely it eases the service provisions by all the service providers, including bank. And also, if it is scaled up, that it reduces cost to the service recipient also. In that context, making an interoperable, seamless payment system, and it's workable across the bank and non-bank provider, like service provider, MFS, and even microcredit institutions. That will make the total ecosystem very smart and user-friendly, and everybody can use with least cost and least effort. That is the opportunity for having a interoperable platform, integrated platform. So today's morning session emphasized that, and we have seen the Modalu Foundation's open source that of assistance or facility, and that can be leveraged to create a system of interoperable system which can be adopted in all the providers. And the big challenges here, I find, that different service provider has got their own legacy system at the moment. And there is a natural tendency to stick to that. And I think, and moreover, might be some business issue also. There is some challenges here that they might feel that in the ecosystem, if you have an interoperable system, they might their business might be under challenge. And that's also true in some context. So as some sort of confidence with the existing provider also to be given that through some scaling up through this integrated system, even they can have a more business. So that sort of confidence should be built up in the total ecosystem, because there is already MFS, many of the MFS that have got a deep-rooted link customer base. So that need to be handled. And moreover, literacy, digital literacy is also an issue. You can have a best of the best system provided, but the customer base, if the significant portion of a customer base is not that much digitally literate, that at the end of the day, you don't get the ultimate benefit out of it. So that's some steps should be needed for digital literacy. And there is some monopolistic tendency towards, among the existing provider. And also there is some competitions between fintech and the MFS and all this. So these are the delicate area of intervention which need to be handled very efficiently and which scientifically and with some sort of motivated, some group need to be behind the total system of development and making it popular. As far as the central bank is concerned, central bank should take the lead. At the moment, central bank has got their own system like NPSB and the RTGS and the automated clearing house like. If you have a multiple system, user gets sometimes confused. I can give you one example. The other day, one of the retired secretary, one of my friends, he sent money to another friend who is sick. And just in 1 hour, after 1 hour, he phoned me because he knows that I'm through Swanly Wallet, through PFTN platform. He is a retired secretary. After 1 hour, he is my friend, he called me and scolded like anything. My money didn't go yet. Then I said, which platform you used? Because I don't know. I use your wallet. But he doesn't know that BFTN is a platform, RTGS is another platform, and NPSB is another platform. So he's a retired secretary, he's a educated section of the representing, but still then he's confused. So that gives a proof that in the ecosystem, use of multiple systems should be minimized to a great extent. And that is the key to popularize the things. So NPSB has got the banking system only, but MFS is not linked. So I hope that through some UPI like India, UPI, Unified Payment Interface of India like some platform need to be created, and whole ecosystem should use one. And even with the digital literacy shortcomings, still user can be made literate. But if you have a multiple system, then last but not the least, Bangladesh Bank should take the lead in making this ecosystem with one unified system. But here is another link that QR, Bangla QR is already there. But to make Bangla QR popularized, central bank doesn't have the regulatory control only. because QR code, making it popularized, you need to have the merchants need to be also geared up. So that part need to be very carefully handled, and I would suggest that there should be a multi-sectoral representations steering committee, strong steering committee with a very high level. So that should be the key for making one steering committee. I would suggest one multi-sectoral, including merchants, corporate world, financial sector, fintech, and all these with a high-level representative. There should be a steering committee with a very time-bound plan to make this interoperable, instant, inclusive payment system workable. And I hope that if we can manage these projects very scientifically and very carefully, strategically, there will be a time that everybody out of the system get benefited. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, and couldn't agree more with you. Yes, we do need a unified system that will not only, reduce the confusion, but increases the efficiency and trust and convenience like no other. But you also touched upon a very interesting point, that there may be some conflict of interest among MFS and other, the fintechs and banks and other service providers. With that in mind, I would like to turn to Mr. Monirul Islam, who has been working as the Chief Business External and Corporate Affairs of bKash for over a decade. Yes. So coming back to you with the 3 original questions, and maybe if you would like to respond to that, or maybe later, but yes, the floor is.
Thank you. In the financial ecosystem, there is no choice of standalone arrangement. It has to be one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. So the essence of interoperability was very much felt by Bangladesh. And to be honest, we are not in a square one in any way. We had the interoperability almost started back in 2021, in the month of November, with few of the banks and one of the MFS, and got stopped for whatever reason. Then we had another system within 2 years down the line, which we have spoken about, Binimoy, launched in late 2023. So we understand what is interoperability, its need, how it should actually function, what are the risks associated, and what are the measures that actually should make it popular. Now we have introduced Bangla QR, that's also interoperable payment arrangement, and we are seeing that it is also taking a larger stride. Lots of transactions are taking place. Now, a few of the things that needs to be streamlined. First of all, there are lots of parties get involved into interoperability, like the banks, the MFS providers, the NBFI, the PSPs. Now, when it comes to interoperable transaction, the fund flows from one particular entity to another. Oh, there are interests involved in that. So there has to be certain structured fees that should be applicable in a manner that is a happy or win-win situation for all. So this is one important requirement that central bank has to work out to decide about the fees and the charges. So is the case with Bangla QR. We are struggling with that. Unless the MDR and IRF is fixed properly, then this is not going to take off. Because there are chances of arbitrage, and people are smart enough to take advantage of those fees very appropriately, in a very cunning manner. So interoperability in whichever form that is going to be introduced, we welcome that. We want many people to actually engage into transactions from one platform to another, but it has to be under a very strict kind of regulation with a very fixed price oriented that benefits all the participants, the customers, the beneficiaries across the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With your insightful comment, then I would like to turn the mic to Dr. Asif Rashid. You have been the Chief Business Officer for Grameen Phone.
He's not here today, so I'm representing Grameen Phone. Zahid.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So Zahid of Grameen Phone, right?
Right.
So it would be interesting to hear from you, because we know that Grameen Telecom is interested in getting into the payment space of Bangladesh, and you have applied for a license, PSP license. You have received one for about a year under observation from the central bank. Given that background, given that history, I would turn the mic to you to hear about the first 3 questions we had, and if you would like to just respond to any of the other comments that the panelists made.
Thank you. First of all, esteemed guests from Bangladesh Bank and the representative from Bangladesh Bank, I would like to really take this opportunity to thank the roaming BDT. That is an example which basically gave the financial freedom to many people who are actually being a roamer in Bangladesh. Earlier, there was only USD collection could have been done. Now it is open for any currency. So that is an example. I would like to give a thanks to the Bangladesh Bank and representative to taking an opportunity. And then also, esteemed guests, thanks for inviting us. Just a bit of correction on the GTC part. GTC is a honorable shareholder of Grameen Phone. They got the NOC and they got the entire license. So GTC being the shareholder and Grameen Phone being a licensed telecom operator, there is no connection there. But we have some points to actually make on this particular point. Yes, we believe that definitely just the example that I have started, the roaming BDT. Similarly, IIPS is a financial freedom that we believe should be having here and should be having across Bangladesh. So one thing, maybe the way Manjul Bhai mentioned, maybe we need to think about the cost of fund, we need to think about the settlement, we need to think about the transaction volume which will cover today's cost of fund of across the players. This will give liberty to the players who are trying to make a scaling it up their business, where we can also take part of as a player in telecom. Second thing I would like to say about the question that you wanted to make, that what is our recommendation to the central bank. So I have 3 recommendations to the central bank as part of the telecom industry. Smartphone, this is going to be the biggest enabler for digitalization and cashless society. Today we have a lot of bottlenecks there. We are not being able to offer customers any kind of loans. We are not being able to offer customers any kind of financial proposals, which is not scalable at the root level of Bangladesh. You know, it's like 50% roughly do not have any smartphone. If you do not have any smartphone, the products that we are talking about, the products that are different players are bringing out here, even at the regulatory level or at the different players level, that is not being accessible by many of the people of Bangladesh. Second thing is that just like the IIPS, I would like to highlight, there may be one system coming up which will be solving all the problems, like know your customers. Every single places you are going and you have to put the informations. This is not been able to collect from one particular places. The one that BTRC has brought for the all telecom operators, the CVBMP, like similar kind of thing can be brought for know your customers, so that everybody can hook one particular system and get all the informations and take customers' consent from there. And the last part is the financial freedom. I would say today there is a lot of challenges around financial freedom. We cannot do this, that. Many people at the root level, they don't able to take agricultural loan. They don't even know. So this information power and the financial freedom will definitely enable Bangladesh towards the vision that we want to see. And I again thank Bangladesh Bank for taking the lead and solving customer problems. It's not about our problem, it's not about what services we are giving. It is about the customers or the Bangladeshi people who are here solving their problems one by one. So smartphone, then they know your customers and giving the financial freedom to the end customers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to hear now from Mohammed Mainul Haq, the country head and banking chair of Citibank Bangladesh. From a private sector point of view, private banks point of view, you have heard already some of the panelists kind of highlighting few challenges, a lot of opportunities, and a couple of recommendations. From Citibank's perspective, what would you like to add in these three areas and maybe voice more?
Thank you so much. I think before I just answer to your question, I think the main objective here is to increase the digital adoption overall. So as we speak now, if we look at the volume of the current, all these instant payment platform like IBFT or IDTP is less than 1%. If we look at the total statistics in the volumes in the formal payment channels, 55% digital, 45% non-digital transaction, volume-wise. But if we look at the ratio from value-wise, almost 27% transaction only digital and 73% transaction non-digital. And if we look at the component of this non-digital transaction, is being fueled by the non-digital transaction of the banking sector, mostly fueled by the over-the-counter withdrawal cash as well as manual fund transfers. So in terms of volume, MFS is dominating with 75% of the share, and the rest 25% goes to the banking sector. And in terms of the value, definitely banking sector is dominating with 95%, and only 5% gets captured by MFS. And out of that 95%, as I mentioned, almost 70% is a non-digital banking transaction. So that gives an idea about the overall mindset that is still high-value transaction, large ticket transaction being transacted through non-digital modality. And that's where I think the focus should be on how we can change this mindset and why still we are having such a huge reliance for doing all these large ticket transactions through in manual form. So when we talk about the inclusive instant payment system, definitely focus primarily on P2P, then B2P, P2B, G2B, B2G. But I think another area which is very important is G2P, government to person payments. And that's where when we talk about IFPS, I think there has to be some level of integration with the government systems. We have this integrated budget and accounting system at the government level. So there has to be some level of integration so that the salary, then pension and all the other payments of the governments to different beneficiaries can be flown through the IIPS. And if I just look at it from a very basic point of view, what actually we are trying to achieve? We are trying to achieve the scalability, right? So if I exemplify a ready-made garments worker receiving her salary in her mobile account instantly, then after receiving the salary, she's triggering instantly a payment to payment for his son or daughter's tuition fee to school's bank account in another location. That sort of interoperability we are aspiring for. And that definitely comes with a challenge. If I just touch upon some of the challenges, like I think the concept paper also mentioned about the infrastructure-related challenge, technological challenge, regulatory challenge, and most importantly, the behavioral challenge, because still there is a huge, huge trust factor. So if we really want to just have traction or want to have a digital, incremental digital adoption under IIPS, as we So in Tanzania, 35% increase, 75% increase. Pakistan achieved 35% increase in 2024. If we want to achieve that kind of incremental digital adoption, I think we really need to address the trust factor. And that's where I think the massive some kind of focus in terms of creating awareness, in terms of just reaching out to the underserved community, including but not limited to women, rural farmers, all those people. I think the education part, awareness part is a big, big factor. And also the system, I mean, be it IVR, be it USSD, be it any kind of voice-enabled service, that has to be premised on local language so that it actually reaches out to the mass people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hawk. You, again, touched upon many of the critical factors that we are considering as well, and other countries have considered while developing and deploying an IIPS system. With that, I would like to hear from Mr. Shahidul Alam, who has been the Company Secretary and Chief Corporate and Regulatory Officer of ROBI. Mr. Zahid from Grameen, he touched upon the data interoperability, where we have data in different sectors, different reservoirs, and there's no speaking to each other kind of thing. From a telecom perspective, first I would like to hear the three categories of questions that we had, but if you have anything to add to that data interoperability question.
Thank you very much. From telco perspective, we believe that every day is a missed opportunity for the nation. A country like Bangladesh, just think about it. You have 110 million people who can actually use internet. You have 55 million customers every day using internet, either the Facebook or the YouTube or any other social media platforms. So it's a huge number of consumers. But when it comes to the financial institutions or financial transactions, and you look at the total transactions and everything else, keeping the telco outside from this financial domain is a missed opportunity for every second. The contribution that we can make from the telco sector into the financial institution is huge. But this area never been explored, or from the policy, policy perspective, we have actually kept away from coming to this side. Think about it, a trader in Bogura or Chittagong can accept payment from any platform. What would be the situation? And I'm talking about that 55 million customers every day that using internet. We talk about digital literacy. Of course, there is a gap in digital literacy. We have 180 million SIM owner, where our smartphone penetration is about 65%, is increasing day by day. We are reducing the literacy gaps. And as you can see, as I mentioned, nearly 55 million customers a day using internet. And that's where our revenue comes from. But if you look at the overall digital economy, the contribution is actually very little, because these consumers are not into the financial transactions, except sending and receiving money. And that is where, we need a total policy shift. We need to think for the nation, for the benefit of the nation. And of course, I don't underestimate the challenges for interoperability. There are many conflicting stakeholders. Aligning all of these stakeholders is a daunting task. But we need to align ourselves for our own interest, for the interest of the nation. If we don't, as I said, we are going to miss the entire opportunity. As you can see, all over the world, all the nations are progressing well. When it comes to Bangladesh, despite a huge number of digital customers, we are not able to actually maximize our capabilities. And this is where we need to bring trust, we need to bring alignment, we need to sit together ourselves for the best interests of the nation. Now, if I just give one recommendation to Bangladesh Bank, my request would be to align all stakeholders for a collaborative corporate governance. collaborative governance to ensure that trust remains in the platform. You need to sometimes think about this interoperability platform as a technological project. It's actually not. It's an ecosystem project. If you look at from the technological perspective, then this is not going to work. You need to think about this as an ecosystem change, ecosystem transformation. From that perspective, if you've done it right, this can be a game changer for the nation. And just to address your question about the data, it's now about 5 to 6 years. We are asking for a national data analytics framework, national data analytics system, or a body where all the nation's data can be put together for the use of the nation. Since the COVID, we have seen how the telecom tried to work, all telecom operators with the government. And from that perspective, we have requested many times for a national data analytics center, but never happened. But I think this is, again, I request that Bangladesh Bank also can take an initiative to ensure that all data are actually put together so that all institutions, all business can use the data that we actually store. I mean, I think anybody can imagine the amount of data that we have or the Nagod and Bikash has. So we can actually use those data for the benefit of our nation and for the future digital economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alam. Echoing what you just mentioned about the IIPS or an interoperable platform not just being a technology, but an ecosystem enabler, I would like to reiterate what we have mentioned in the first session, in earlier, the first half of the day, that the idea of today's gathering or convening is to create a consultative space. This is first, it's not a one-off event. It's the first of what we hope to become a regular discussions among the market players and with the Central Bank of Bangladesh. So this is very much in the interest of making an alignment among all, with all. With that said, I would like to ask my colleague, Julie Aberanera, who leads our work from IFS team. Dili leads the work named Scale Africa, meaning she oversees building and deploying IIPSs in many of the African countries. Dili, we have heard number of concerns. Well, there's a lot of optimism, but at the same time, a lot of questions and concerns coming up. One of the kind of the obvious, we know that legacy of the older system, older modes of operations, trust, lack of behavioral change push or incentive to push, digital literacy being, repeatedly mentioned, and of course, cybersecurity or minimizing fraudulent activities. Given your experience in leading work in Africa, how would you kind of contextualize those in the Bangladesh situation, see the opportunity, challenges for Bangladesh from what you have seen, and just share your recommendations for the Central Bank?
Thank you so much, Snigdha, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion and to share what I have seen. It is my first time in Bangladesh, and it really is an honor to be here amongst you all as you embark on your journey of leveraging what you've already done for many years to build a national inclusive instant payment system. So I'm very excited to be here. My own personal career started with microfinance, and just on a personal note, it's actually also very exciting to be in Bangladesh, which was a pioneer, on a global scale, and in a global example, starting with the innovation of microfinance, And of course, a lot has happened since then. We've seen the changes over time. I also got the honor to actually meet the Honourable Muhammad Yunus in 2011 during his visit to the United States, which was really a memorable experience for me. And so this is really a full circle moment as well. So just wanted to kind of open with that. As Nikda mentioned, I serve as a senior program officer on the IFS team. I've been part of this team for 10 years, and the focus of my work has been on deploying, scaling and accelerating inclusive instant payment systems across Africa, and more recently doing a little bit of work in the ASEAN region, as well as the Middle East and North Africa. So really, just to say that everything I've heard in this room today, I have seen in Africa. In many of the work that we've done supporting inclusive instant payment systems across regions. In Africa, we have several regions, as well as countries themselves, all sort of the challenges expressed here, some of the recommendations we've also seen. So whereas every country's experience is unique, there really are consistent and sort of recurring lessons that we have seen, and I'm hearing it here as well. So coming back to and hopefully some of the things that I share here are not new, but perhaps useful as Bangladesh charts its own journey. So in terms of opportunities, and again, based on what we've seen, I think the biggest opportunity for Bangladesh that I see is scale. You have a country that has a huge population. Although digitization is not at the place where you want it to be, we've seen since the COVID pandemic that there's been a huge sort of exponential increase in use of digital payments to make bulk payments and things like that. And this allows for the possibilities, if you're able to leverage different use cases, as was mentioned here, the ability to actually scale and to drive down the cost for participants to the IIPS system. I think Joanna mentioned this earlier as well. And hopefully to drive down transaction costs for the user, which is ultimately sort of the purpose of this, in such a way that it pulls in those that are not in the informal sector to the formal sector. So I think Bangladesh holds these factors and these features of this country actually play towards that scale. We've seen some countries that are much smaller struggle with this issue because they don't have the population size, or they've started with just one use case and need to add several use cases to get to that volume, transaction volume. So I think you have something really good going here. The second thing that I see, which I think was mentioned in earlier presentations, is the fact that Bangladesh Bank is leading and championing this project really is going to be a critical aspect to success. And I say this because my colleague here mentioned that this is not just a technical work. The technical part of it is actually probably the easiest. The hardest part are the things like scheme rules, regulation, mandatory regulations, and other things that need to be put in place to actually, and directives to support adoption and ensure that the systems that are put in place are actually a public utility and useful to the whole of the society. So the involvement and the leadership of the Bangladesh Bank really is going to be helpful and really help towards making a successful project. In terms of challenges, several have been mentioned, but the one I would like to point towards is around fraud. As everybody perhaps knows and have said here as well, the more an economy becomes digitized and payments become instant, then the risk of fraud and scams increases. We've seen this was recently in Malaysia at the ASEAN Ministers of Finance and Central Bank Governors meeting, and this was the biggest pain point, as mentioned by many of the ASEAN countries that are highly digitized, and so they have frauds and scams as a big problem. So I think it's important to think about this early in the design of not just the center or the IIPS system, but how do you ensure that the ecosystem, the DFSPs also have fraud mitigation and prevention mechanisms to really protect the customer. Because I think somebody said, might have been Steve, where people that have low financial means can't afford to lose any money. And the minute that happens, then you lose trust, and then that impacts your adoption and uptake. So that's one thing that I would really point out. There are many resources. The Gates Foundation has provided some written stuff on this. There's many that we could share with you as well. I think in terms of recommendations, I heard it here as well. My biggest recommendation and what I've seen on the continent is the early and consistent engagement of the ecosystem stakeholders. You are starting it here today, but as Snikta said, this is the first step, and it needs to happen on a consistent basis. I've seen it in other parts, in some projects in Africa, where a central bank that owned a project in the West Africa region actually took a year to really understand. They went to every country to understand and ask the stakeholders what are the needs, what are the challenges, and bake that into the design of their payment system. Another region did similarly over 18 months. In the same room, every quarter, all the stakeholders, the ecosystem players, as Joanna was mentioning earlier, the regulators, the mobile money operators, everybody was there. And it wasn't easy. It was very hard. Some of those discussions were very tense and so forth, but I think in the end, it really, really does help you create a system that really meets the needs of all the stakeholders, and I think that's an important point. The other one that I would really like to mention is my recommendation to really think about business modeling and pricing early. Oftentimes we see where systems are built, perhaps haven't really thought about how do we sustain this payment system? Do we need subsidies, in the first 3 to 5 years until the payment system breaks even and things like that? Is it low cost enough for participants? Is it going to attract? Have participants even been consulted on the pricing and things like that? So I think it's important, unless the central bank mandates and says it's going to be 0 fees, similar to RAST in Pakistan, this process of building the business model that is actually sustainable and works is important, because what ends up happening is if it doesn't, then you build a system, they don't come. And so I think this is another very important thing. The last one I would say is around communication and awareness building. And this kind of goes a little bit to digital literacy as well, but I think RAST also gave a great example of how they have all these awareness building at the community level to really help people understand, including DFSPs and the customers themselves. So I think that is something that can be overlooked in an infrastructure project like this, but it is critical for adoption. So these are the things that I would share. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Dilly. Kind of drawing a parallel between the Asian countries and African countries is very helpful, because yes, the political economy and the cultural context may be different, but some are universal challenges that we face, especially with underserved population. So the challenges and recommendations will come very handy. Now I would like to hear from the representative of the central bank, Mr. Shahzi Al-Haq, who has been involved with the payment systems department and has seen the inception of digital platforms in Bangladesh, has worked through it. Mr. Haq, we have kind of heard from representation of telecom, MFS, public bank, private bank, Gates Foundation's other initiatives, and etc. We would like to hear from you, central bank representation, how you have seen IIPS. I mean, you guys are the technical lead. You are the lead of this initiative in Bangladesh. But speaking of these challenges, is there any mechanism, is there any thoughts that you have already considered into, as Dilly mentioned, baking them into the plan, or how would you like to address that?
Thank you, Smita. From my experience of payment systems, I have deep trust on a word. All of you who heard me before, I always say convenience is the key word in payment systems. If you can provide convenience, people will take it. Let me give you two certain examples. One is very visible right now, Metro. All of you are using Metro like anything. And the payment mechanism of Metro is not very smooth. It's not something which every one of you like. But still we are using it because it creates convenience for which I can do this stuff of payments part. Second is mobile financial services. Start 247 hash. That's what Bikash has started with. So from a person who is living in the village, a woman who is not literate, she doesn't even know what is 247. She doesn't know what is star and hash. Still she knows how to use Bikash because MFS has provided the convenience. So when we talk about any platform, when we talk about interoperability, none of it will be successful if it is not providing the convenience. We are talking about Bangla QR. In Bangladesh Bank, we have run a drastic work in every department to convince them everyone should use Bangla QR. So we are not that successful. If half of the people are using, half of the people are not using. Why they are not using? The key questions. So you have to provide convenience, which is more than using a card or cash. Only then I will use Bangla QR. Otherwise, I will not change my modality of paying. So whether we are successful enough to making Bangla QR more convenient than cash or the card, we are not. So we have to make sure that either we need to make sure that it takes lesser time, it provides more convenience in payment, or we have to give them some kind of incentive, which is not provided through Dhaka or card, or we will force them. These are the three convenient mechanisms which Bangladesh Bank or the government have to convince the people. So, coming back to Bikash's point, Honourable Bhai's point, making a win-win positions. It's almost impossible. We have worked so far in the pricing model. I'm sorry to say, it is almost impossible to make a win-win position for all. What we can create, not win-win position, we can create a convenient position. Where somebody will lose something now, in the later phase, he will get some profit. Where somebody will get something more now, in the long run, he will lose some market. So that's the point. And when I see the interoperable market, Bangladesh market, I always talk about many of the operators are saying, now we have that percentage of market share. If we go through interoperability, whether I will have the similar kind of market share. I am sorry to say, they will not have. But what will happen, they will have more money, more customer than what they have at this moment. So we are making the pie bigger. You are losing maximum share of the pie, but the share that you are getting, it is much more than what you can get in 5 years if it is not interoperable. So that is the point we are trying to make from the central bank point of view. So, sorry Munir Bhai, we will not be able to create an win-win position for all. We will be able to make a convenient position. Second, that's the limitation from central bank side. When we are talking about interoperable payments ecosystem, and especially IIPS, one critical area is smartphone, or whether people who are using banking services can use banking app. What is the percentage of people in Bangladesh actually successfully use banking apps? What is the percentage of people in Bangladesh who are using banking apps, but whether they're doing it for account transfer or they do it for payment also. So my experience is most of the people, even in this room, using banking app for account transfer. Very few of us actually buy something using that app. We are talking with Ministry of Transport, we are talking with DTCL. It is very good to know that all of you might be aware that DMTCL has taken a step through which even using card, we will go through the metro in a future period of time. This is interoperability. We should not limit someone. We will create opportunity for as many people as possible, as many participants as possible, as many operators as possible. Another thing is, whatever we are trying to do, it's a part of digital lifestyle. Digital payment is an integral part of digital lifestyle. So I have to make sure that anyone who wants to do a digital transaction, he can do it. So from my point of view, I'm Shaziaul Haq, working in Bangladesh Bank, representing 40 plus people in Bangladesh who are some way using the tech for a certain period of time. I have found that many of us actually using app, doing the interbank transaction, which I've already mentioned, but not doing the payment. Let me think about a person who is working in a garment in Gazipur, whether she can do what she wants to do through this app, whether she can do and fulfill her requirement through the digital payment, she cannot. Even if she is receiving the money through digital payment, in case of Bikash or Rocket, what we have found, after receiving the money, she needs to cash out. She cannot pay the rent to her house owner. She cannot buy the groceries from the grocery shop. She can send the money to her relatives residing in village. Even that person also has to cash out. Similar thing is true about government social safety net. We know we have a very big social safety net services. More than 25 million people are actually receiving e-money. So Bangladesh people knows actually how to receive e-money. But from central bank, from the operator, we fail to create enough use cases so that the people who are receiving the e-money can use that successfully, can buy and can meet her requirements using that money. This is the mile right now. This is the way we need to work on. For that, we need the IIPS. IIPS should be enabling both to USSD and to smartphone app user. IIPS should be good enough to be used by someone who is living in rural area, someone who is living in urban area. IIPS should be good enough to meet the requirements of a merchant, meet the requirement of an individual. IIPS should be good enough to meet the requirement of government. IIPS should be good enough to meet the requirement of all the participants, all the operators. And somehow, they have to be convinced using this interoperable platform is creating some sort of winning scenario for them. So Appa, back to you. This is the way we are thinking right now. And then we are hoping that the new platform which we are thinking about, it will meet all these requirements. And then, as already mentioned, there were 2 platforms which have been introduced, taking that into considerations and failed to take off successfully. We are hoping that that experience is a learning, and from that learning, we will be careful enough, we will be more meticulous, we will take the opinion of all the stakeholders more generously, and in that way, we would be able to meet the requirement of digital payment lifestyle. Thank you, Appa.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. This kind of summarizes the central bank's position in addressing all the challenges that were kind of voiced here, and also the recommendations that was voiced here. That is because I think the central bank has been researching, doing a lot of background work on learning from other examples, where it succeeded or where it failed. And as you know, that we have been working very closely with Bangladesh Bank in kind of designing the whole project, how to make it successful. We also understood the critical importance of stakeholder engagement and hearing from you. Without really learning what the concerns or the questions are existing in the market, we wouldn't be able to support the central bank in building and deploying a successful IAPS. With that in mind, and with again saying that this is the first step, this is not a one-off event, this is the beginning of a conversation, I would like to open the floor for question and answers to any of the panelists or any of the presenters that you heard in the earlier half of the day and what you heard now from the panel discussion.
So, thank you everyone. I think Deva, you finished it off in a very passionate manner and really shows the drive how Central Bank is willing to support this. So, the point I want to bring in from the standpoint of making it, the point I want to bring in from the standpoint of all banks participation here, particularly Zavai, and from the experience that we had in earlier rollouts. And in some of the cases, we kind of had to roll back. And some of the banks also had to make investments and then decide this is not the right way, right? So that also, I think, comes with the fact that how banks will be able to get that confidence in the new system. I think, of course, central bank can make it mandatory for everyone, but the experience also come into play. So will it be possible to make some sort of steering committee that also starts said, maybe in a different name, but something similar to NPCI or anything, where the banks and some of the other stakeholders can also provide opinion in the formulation stage, and can put the opinions that the scheme can be like this, or the timeline can be like this. In some of the cases, especially foreign banks, since I'm representing Citibank NA, this is difficult to convince the people sitting in the boards, because stake allocation also is segregated across the world. So get that pie is also difficult. So timeline and steering committee, these are the two proposals probably I would like to make, if that is an opportunity for the forum to tell. Here
Thank you. Before Mr. Hawk proceeds to respond to that, may I please kindly ask everyone to introduce yourself and the organization that you represent? That will be great.
So I introduced already that I'm from Citibank NA, Bangladesh, and my name is Akhir.
Okay, thank you.
Akhir bhai, we will have steering committee. That's the plan. So we will not make every commercial bank is a member, but we will take certain type, like someone from Islamic bank, someone from state-owned commercial bank, someone from private bank, and someone from the foreign bank. That's the way we are thinking. There will be a steering committee, and we will declare all the timeline in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jamunasa Alo, working with the Business Standard. I'm just curious to know from the central bank representative, just you giving an example about the app users, how they use only account transfer. But if really central bank has any statistical analysis that what is the trend of app users, because almost all banks have now mobile app, but we don't find any data from central bank. Thank you.
We are actually collecting that, and there is an initiative from the Payment System Department, which is given to all the commercial banks. So first, we focus on whether all the commercial bank employees are using the app or not. And there is a timeline also for make sure that all the commercial banks who has apps will be used by their own employees, number one. Number two, apart that you have mentioned, there is a certain data about the internet banking, how many of people are using the internet banking. But taking your suggestions, we will include in our data collection how many app users are in each and every commercial banks. At this moment, we don't have the exact data, but taking that into account.
I'm Mohammad Mashukur Rahman, Chief Technology Officer, United Commercial Bank. I have basically two questions. One is to the sir of Sonali Bank, and another one is Zia Bhai from Central Bank. Actually, what we found, like during COVID, like we learned like what is the importance of digitization as well as the smoothness of payment system. So that time, a lot of initiative happens, and a lot of merchants came to as a e-merchant, and the flow was very good. But what happened after COVID? Like we can give you some example. Like think about Alishamart, they have done a big disaster. That's why the confidence from the customer end is reduced. And now what is happening? Just few years back, we have declared Motijil as a cashless area. But again, it got failed. Because what is the main requirement from the merchant side? Always they need the physical cash. So the entire payment system should be automated, not only for the bank-to-bank or P2P transfer. Also, it needs to be incorporated with all the other facilities what we are getting from Uber or any kind of food delivery services. That has to be incorporated under the same umbrella. That will cover the main lifestyle. So I would request to tell something about that, sir, like how we can get back the confidence, because we have found that a lot of disaster or fraud happened with the legacy accounts maintained by the bank, and cash got out through those accounts. And when we just did the investigation, we found the proper KYC was not there for the legacy account. So I would request sir to tell about to mitigate some risk. And the next question I just asked to Zia Bhai, then I will close my question session. Zia Bhai, what is the initiative the central bank is going to take about such kind of fraud is happening, because it makes fear to the end user to do electronic transaction. So what are the initiatives you can take? Because from banks, we are facing a lot of queries from the customers. From the knowledge transfer, we are doing Bikash or any MFS, we are doing a lot of knowledge transfer session, but still fraud is going on. So how we can mitigate it, or what are the initiatives you are taking? Thank you.
I agree with you that all the stakeholders are working in silos. And that's why today's sessions we are talking about the integration of the interoperable system. But in fact, at the moment, you can call it it's a private sector domain. Like every player has got his own ecosystem. And also, as there is no integrated interoperable system with an eye of the regulator on the top of that, and that's why all the problems you are seeing is happening. And even audit trail for investigation by the regulator also missing in many cases at the moment, because there is no comprehensive platform and through which the regulator also can oversee what is happening around in different providers, with the different providers, both banking and also MFS. So I hope that the way the morning sessions discussions continued, that if you can have a interoperable payment system with a regulatory framework done through the central bank, hopefully these all problems might be minimized in days to come. But still then, definitely we have to think about as it was came out from the discussion that all stakeholders' involvement, engagement, and confidence building, and also there should be a campaign that for all the stakeholders there will be win-win situations through this move. So if that sort of tempo can be created, that nobody loses, everybody gains, and also all the payments everywhere to everyone for everything. If you keep this motto in mind and proceed in a concerted effort with a, as I said, that with a multi-stakeholder representative steering committee, definitely top of that regulator will be on the top of that, the central bank. I hope with the time-bound plan, I think all this can be minimized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. আপনার পাসওয়ার্ড কারোর সাথে শেয়ার করবেন না। Is there anyone who didn't heard this thing 100 times in Bangladesh? Is there anyone didn't hear the message throughout Bangladesh, whether he or she living in Dhaka or in a rural area? Still we are sharing the password. All the frauds which happen in payment ecosystem, other than the latest one of the foreign banks use cases, we have found that password is actually shared by the users, OTP. So all that cases OTP is shared. And if OTP is shared, I don't know what could be the mechanism to take guard against a financial fraud. We are talking about two things simultaneously. We are trying to make it as simple as possible so that one person who doesn't have enough financial literacy, even living in the rural area, can do the transaction. On the other way around, we are talking that even after sharing the OTP, there should not be any kind of fraud. These two cannot happen together. If we take guard, we can take. And then there will be multiple sector of guard, and one OTP will not do the transactions. And even without one OTP, with one OTP, we fail to reach the last mile. So if there are multiple guard, it would be even difficult. So the key factor is we have to be aware. We cannot be greedy. So whatever the imposter, whatever the fraudster says, we cannot believe that and share the OTP. So that's the single-handed factor which is affecting fraud throughout the Bangladesh. And regarding the second issue, we have declared Bangladesh cashless Motijil and failed. To be honest, when we started the process, we had an idea that it will be failed. But if we were waiting and make sure that it will happen when it will only be successful, none of us will hear the cashless Motijil term. None of us will be talking about the Bangla QR right at this moment. Even in the district level now, we are talking about cashless Bangladesh, we are talking about Bangla QR. That's the target we had initially in our mind. We have to spread the word. Bangla QR should be known to each and every person of Bangladesh. And if we started 2 years later, that project would be failed 2 years later. The good thing is we started fast. So it started to spread throughout the country. And as it is started to spread throughout the country, now we are thinking about how we can make best use of Bangla QR, which platform can do it perfectly. Zamal Bhai said, to make it possible, we have to use the app. We are thinking about whether Bangla QR has any way accommodating in all the payment platform in Bangladesh. These things are come up. And I believe this is the outcome of that initiative. Though it is failed, it comes with multiple output, which are directly not making sure that Motijil is cashless. And we are living in Bangladesh. We have a different sort of culture. We have different kind of behavior. It's very rare. These kind of initiatives, when we have started, taken off successfully. We have started BSCH in 2009, BFTN in 2010. It took certain amount of time. We have started NPSB in 2014. We have introduced IBFT in 2018. IBFT successfully take off on 2023, 2022. So that is a lag time. And most of the time, we actually, from the central bank, in case of payment systems, not following the usual route of supply and demand. The best practice is there will be something from the demand side, supply will come. In our case, it's actually opposite. All the payment initiatives, supply side comes first. When we introduced BSEH, there was no demand for check truncation. Most of the people are not even aware of what is check truncation. Bangladesh Bank has taken the initiative, started to spread over all over the country, and then people start to use, oh, that's a benefit we can get. Cashless Bangladesh is something similar. Bangla QR is something similar. We have started it. We are hoping that people will get interest, people will start to talk about it. We will get news, media coverage, we will get talking like this kind of conference, and then people will be convinced to use it. So in most of the time, we are actually pushing product from the central bank, at least from the payment systems perspective. If you go through BSEH, BFTN, NPSB, RTGS, all comes from the central bank as a pushing product. So is Bangla QR and cashless Motishield. Thank you.
Thank you, Zia Bhai. There's a question here.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Actually, not a question. I have some points. Taking the route, first of all, I am Mohammad Shamsudjoha. I am the head of corporate affairs and Camel Co-op UPAI, UCB Fintech Limited. Assalamu alaikum. Taking the point from Jia, I have some points. Jia, thank you so much. As you summarized almost the whole panel discussions, the few points that you have clearly mentioned as the central bank, Bangladesh Bank, what it wants to do and what it doesn't want to do, what it can do and what it cannot do. So taking point from there, so whatever Bangladesh Bank wants to do, we want that this should be done very fast. We should have a clear picture of the fintech ecosystem. From few years, we are listening that digital bank is coming, digital bank is coming. Then we found that few banks are given, few entities are given with the license. Then we find that it has been cancelled. Now again we see that digital bank license is going to be given. So whatever it is given or not, all these things we should be fixed very fast so that we know, yes, we have banks, we have PSPs, we have MFS, and now we have Bangladesh Bank. And this is the top level view of the fintech ecosystem of Bangladesh, which will be running for the next 5 to 6 years, other than some innovation concepts. So this is one first requirement, that speed or the fast speed is very, very important for stabilizing the fintech ecosystem. My second point is that about the MFS license. Yes, it is very good that once MFS came into the market, this was designed as a bank-led model. That was the perfect decision. But now the market is almost saturated by 1 or 2 operators. To get more entities into this market, we need strong players. And to have strong players, we need to free this MFS-led, bank-led MFS model at the earliest. Otherwise, few mobile phone network operators or others who has the strong financial power and distribution channel, only probably if they come to this market, they can have more competitive products in this market. At this moment, all the MFS products, innovative products, good services can only be given by Bikash, the company of Bhavani sir. But to have more strong competitors, this MFS should be freed from this bank-led model. These are the 2 points in general. And the third point is the transaction limit of MFS. The transaction limit of MFS is quite okay, except one part, the cash out limit part. Let us see that a customer is getting money from his salary, from selling some properties or doing some business, anything, who is making the cash in. Or somebody is actually adding money from the bank. But once it comes to cashing out, it is 30,000 taka. Okay, as far as it is the money from his income or bank transfer, this is okay. But what about loan disbursement? Suppose somebody has got a loan from a microfinance institution of 1 lakh taka. And you know, whoever gets this microfinance, he needs this money very fast. So from microfinance institution, if somebody is getting 100,000 taka, he cannot wait for 4 days. That 4 times he will go to an agent point and then he will get the money. So according to the source of money, this transaction limit should be actually freed, whether it is money from ad money or cash in, and another from the disbursement. That can be salary disbursement. That can be more than 30,000 taka, and somebody might need it. That can be loan disbursement, and that can be more than 30,000 taka. So people should be free to use that money. So these are the 3 points to GRI. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Sanjeet Datta from Eastern Bank, Head of Digital Technology. I have a question to you, Ms. Avera. Yeah. So as Mojaloop is a open source platform, so everyone obviously will be scared about the security. Open source platform is not secured. Everyone will assume that. What's your opinion as you are talking about the Africa region, how they are running with this open source platform, how they are securing their transactions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have our Mojaloop experts probably are best placed to answer the technicalities around how they secure. We have we have a community of Mojaloop open source software participants that are deploying Mojaloop, and they meet on a regular basis to talk about and to revise the software itself. And my understanding is that as those revisions are done, and I believe we're on version 17 at this point, those things that are important are revised and actually incorporated into the software to make it more secure, to incorporate challenges and things, learnings from the different systems. But maybe I will ask Steve or Julie to perhaps comment on this, because they are from the Mojaloop Foundation and very much involved in this work.
Hello. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I mean, the security is obviously the most important thing we need to talk about. I can say there's absolutely no way that in the next 30 seconds I'm going to make you understand and believe in the security of the system. This requires days and days of training, which, as many people have said, this is the first discussion. So over the next years, I hope we'll have plenty of opportunities to answer that question in depth. I would just say a few quick points is to remind everyone that all proprietary software that you can find out there is built on open source. Most of the same components that Mojaloop is built on can actually be found in any proprietary switch software. And so it's one thing to remember. The other is that I would ask you, don't ever trust me that this is safe. You have amazing Bangladeshi technologists. Trust them. They're the ones who have them go through the code, have them go through the security protocols that we've put in place, and have them take a look at it. The last two things I would say is, one is the security is rarely in the software. It's much more in the way it's implemented than in any proprietary software. So the actual data centers where you put the software is the biggest technology risk point. And so we would also say that's going to be an important part of that question. And the last one, which was brought up quite a bit, is the technology is not actually the big risk point. The big risk point is going to be pins, it's going to be users, it's going to be, we talked a lot about the human engineering and a lot of those types of risks. Those are going to be much bigger risks. But it's a great question. I would love to take anyone through our transaction protocols, through the security that we enable, but the same type of security that enables you using your credit cards over the internet this would be even more secure. But again, it's a very good question, and one that it's very hard to answer all of the ways we put in place technically to make it secure. But the biggest one also is to remember that, again, all open source software is going to be based on the same, all proprietary software is based off the same open source software that Mojaloop is based off of. It's just you get to actually see it and determine if you trust it or if you trust a foreign company that just promises you that it's safe. So.
Hello, my name is Mehdi Ahsan. I am working for the Daily Star. Recently, 3 or 4 banks, including SCB, suspended their add money option from MFS app. In my reporting purpose, when I asked them for the reason, they said that they suspended the feature for their customer with the recommendation of the central bank. So there is a central bank representative here. I want to know that is this the accurate way to suspend a feature to deal with the scam or risk? We know that with the digital payment, there is huge risk of scam and digital fraud. Thank you.
Thank you. In my job life, I have received multiple calls from my relatives that he or she failed to do a transaction in a commercial bank, and the commercial bank has pointed out that this is the instruction from central bank. And when I look it out, there was no such instruction. And it's quite a common practice in Bangladesh. I believe when some commercial banks cannot satisfy his or her customer in a satisfactory way, or there is any kind of technical glitch in their system, it's very common to say that's an instruction from central bank. In some cases, of course, we have some instruction like that. The issue that specifically you have pointed out, it's a very interesting use case. It's totally different from the fraudster experience we have so far. All the fraud case we have seen so far before this incident is actually the person has shared the OTP. This is the first time in Bangladesh some fraud activities has happened where the person didn't share the OTP. So we have worked what can happen. And an inspection is actually happening right at this moment. What is the root cause of that thing? So this is not the root cause by the investigation, but this is from the knowledge of the payment systems when we all sit together. It could be happen, number one, if all of you are aware that a Gmail hack happened in Bangladesh, 2.5 lakh Gmail account was hacked, number one. So whether these transactions happen to those Gmail accounts, number one assumption. Number two, we know that this OTP can be shared when it is sent through SMS. So where the SMS operator has been sacrificed. This has to be investigated. Number three, collusion. Collusion can happen in 2 stages. One in the commercial bank end, one in the SMS OTP operator end. So these 3 could be the key reason where even without one person is not sharing the OTP, fraudster can get the OTP. So we are working on that. Now comes the second point. So if we do that, if we fail to protect our OTP, what could happen? So a fraud could happen where money would be transferred. So money could be transferred to any merchant. So when it is transferred to an account or a specific merchant of a commercial bank, we are first to work on that. But when the money is transferred to an MFS, it takes time. We are working on that also, whether and which way this specific service can be more secure. So the point which has raised, this is a suggestion from the central bank. To be honest, this is not a suggestion from the central bank, but this is a discussion where we have pointed out all the issues, why this could happen, and what is the ultimate end result of that. Taking that into account, a few of the commercial banks can take steps. They will investigate why OTP is shared, Until then, they want to stop that service. That's their decision. If it's a decision from the central bank, you would see a circular or circular letter from the central bank, not an individual instruction to a particular commercial bank. Thank you.
Am I audible? Yeah. I think Zia Bhai has already answered the question. I'd just like to clarify that there was no directive for central bank to stop the N-money option at all. We did engage the central bank and did the proper reporting. Also, we engaged the law enforcement. The matter is still under investigation. But just to clarify, this was our own decision, and it was not directed by central bank. Thank you.
Any other question regarding IIPS? Do you see a hand? Okay.
Hi, I'm Azizul Haq from Bragg Bank PLC. So I have a question that we are talking about the interoperability, right? So in that case, since we are the most serving SME bank, what we have witnessed that the businesses do not make the transaction in even bank accounts, right? So there is a fear going on about my transaction is being looked after by NBRs, there will be tax imposing and other things, and we know the culture of the country, right? So in that perspective, whenever we are talking about the interoperabilities, how we can promote the businesses to use that one, because I'm not seeing the NBR here, so definitely there should be some sort of subsidization for making the digital transaction. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether it would work, because the tax regime, the taxation system is very difficult for the businessman, what we all know. So in that case, whether you are thinking about some sort of subsidy if someone is making the digital transaction maybe in terms of VAT, maybe in terms of income tax. That is number one question. And the second one is, do we have any thought about digital public infrastructure? Because whenever we are talking about the same KYC is being done by multiple banks, the KYC is being, if I want to open an account, right, in a bank, then go to another bank, I need to do the same process. For a year, if I want to open 2 accounts, so the same sort of process is being followed by most of the banks twice in a year. So do you have any thought about it? Thank you.
Second question answer first. There is a plan of eKYC registry under Banking Regulations and Policy Department. Bangladesh Bank has started to talk about it, and there is a plan, already Bangladesh Bank is working on the Financial Sector Support Project 2 with the support of the World Bank, and in that project, this is a specific component. About the second issue, this is a dilemma for a long period of time. We want to digitize the whole banking sector, even not the banking sector, whole Bangladesh. Digitization means clarity. Digitization means every information will be available. So when we want to make all the information is available, in some cases, merchants are reluctant. This is not specifically of Bangladesh, but I can just give you an example. Suppose we make sure that all the fuchkawala who are selling fuchka in Dhaka University will take the payment in a digital way. So every fuchka plate has a price of 100 taka. So there is a specific record in my book. I know now who is selling fuchka. So let's assume I am a person from the NBR. So I have started to think, now I know who are selling fuchka. So they should give the VAT. That's the basic theorem. So I want to expose VAT on that specific fuchka. So whether it will work, whether fuchkawala was ready to leave the MDR part, give that specific VAT. So this is a dilemma which needs to be answered. Either we can want to charge VAT right at this moment to all the merchant, and we will not take none of them in our net. Or we can think about giving some kind of tax holiday for a certain period of time, and after that time, we can start to think about charging VAT. So that's a policy decision And not only this is a decision from Bangladesh Bank, this has to be taken in the ministry. Another dilemma. From my experience of going foreign country, I have found that whenever I buy something digitally, it's less expensive. Suppose I buy ticket of a train. If I buy it physically, it would be 100 taka. If I buy digitally, it would be 95 taka. That's the common practice almost throughout the world. Isn't it exactly opposite in Bangladesh? Any one of us try to buy train ticket digitally, we'll find that if I buy it physically, it would be 100 taka. If I buy digitally, it would be 105 taka. Why? Because MDR need to be charged, and the operator who is running that, he has to get his money. And as per the treasury rule, these 100 taka cannot be cut down anyway. So we have seen an example which is different for the toll. There was a specific fund where digitally using the toll, there is a subsidy of 10%. But that's a specific case. So in case of Bangladesh, whenever government is the merchant, government is not willing to pay the MDR. And that's the use case also for the educational institution. All the educational institution is charging more than what is the actual fee. And students' parents has to pay what is the charge for the software, what is the charge for the MDR. So that's a practice we need to think about. It's not happening only in case of MDR and tax. It's also happening for all the merchant payment which is done by academy or even the government. So these are the things which needs to be discussed more. And Sir has already pointed out, we need a committee, high-level committee, which will be aware of all these use cases and come up with a solution how we can make good uses of this and make customer eager to use these platforms.
Thank you, panelists. I know that Mr. Islam would like to make a comment. Unless there is any other question, I'll hand over the mic to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Back to IIPS discussion. We all know that interoperability is extremely, extremely important. And as a practitioner of MFS providing service of bKash, I can only say that it's always a long journey. We had started back in 2011. This is 2025. We have 80 million customers and conduct about 19 million transactions per day. So it didn't come just like that. We actually worked very hard. We made the right investment. We had brought the best of technology. We have employed the best of human resources. So, but I understand that there is a burden of success. There is a kind of words here that why should bKash be doing everything? bKash doesn't do everything. We want everyone else to do everything. You have to actually do exactly what we do. Maybe you do the same thing like what bKash does for others. So coming back to IIPS, yes, you will have to start the journey. As I mentioned that we have some experience. We will involve and invest and actually bring in the right energy, right technology, and interoperability will work. But at the end, I must say that unit economics is also very important. And that is where we have to actually draw a fine line that make that a successful initiative when everybody would feel they are comfortable in participating in such a platform. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. That was really reassuring to hear from the pioneer mobile financial service provider and a long-term Gates Foundation partner as well. We will look forward to everybody's cooperation and participation in making this IIPS a successful and a kind of a global exemplar for how a country can utilize its market size to bring up the scale and down the cost. Among all the conversations and the comments we heard, the two that really kind of was the main takeaway for me was the time factor. Some mentioned it explicitly, some hinted at it, that we have to be patient, we have to be transparent, communicative, but also patient. We have to give it some time to be successful. At the same time, hearing from central bank that we should not be afraid of failure was another reassurance. Yes, we have to try. However, the steering committee, the stakeholder consultation, the transparency of central banks' policy-making decisions, where IIPS is, what is the timeline, everything is well heard. We took notes of it, and we will make sure that we can support the central bank in taking all these aspects into consideration to make it a successful journey for all. And with that, I would like to close the panel discussion. Thank you.
To Ms. Ali and all our panelists and participants for an interactive session. As we are at the end of our session, I will now like to invite Mr. Mehriar Hassan, Chairman of BRAC Bank PLC, to the stage to deliver the closing remarks. Mr. Hassan, please.
Good afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, the guest speakers from the Gates Foundation, Jason Lam and Snigdha Ali, distinguished guests from the Moja Loop Foundation and Glenbrook, and all other participants. As we come to the end of today's stakeholders discussion on interoperable payments in Bangladesh, allow me to take you through the story that unfolded before us. We began with our chief guest, Honourable Governor of Bangladesh Bank, Dr. Ahsan Mansur, who set the tone by reminding us that inclusive instant payment system will be central to advancing our financial inclusion agenda and realizing our digital economy aspirations. His words framed the day conversations, and both with vision and urgency. From there, our discussions moved into more profound reflections on equity and accessibility, reminding us that the true progress is measured by how the most marginalized citizens can transact with ease and dignity. We also explored the global relevance of open source solutions and how the adaptability can serve our local context. So then come the pride of us all. When Bangladeshi innovators showcased their prototypes, their efforts proved that our local talent is not only ready for eager to take on the challenge and to shape the future of interoperability. Through these exchanges, one message has come loud and clear. Interoperability is not merely the technology. It is about the trust, transparency, and resilience. It is about banks and mobile financial services providers, fintechs, regulators, and policymakers coming together, not working in isolation. We were reminded that inclusivity must be 360 degrees, embracing every Bangladeshi, regardless of location and circumstance, in allowing them to participate fully in the digital economy with dignity and confidence. On behalf of BRAC Bank, I want to reaffirm our commitment to this shared vision. We are ready to stand by shoulder to shoulder with Bangladesh Bank, with our peers in the industry, with policymakers, with the development partners to make this vision real. But let me emphasize, it would be great this conversation continues. The dialogues we started, there should be the beginning of the sustained collaboration. Your role in translating this momentum into concrete action is crucial, and we deeply value for your contributions. Finally, I would like to acknowledge Policy Research Institute of Bangladesh and the Gates Foundation for its support in making the discussion possible. So in partnership with Bangladesh Bank and the industry stakeholders, we hope to continue this dialogue to build conversation and consensus and chart the roadmap for inclusive interoperable payments. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan, for your remarks. Now I'll kindly request all the panelists to remain seated for a quick photo session. As we are ending our today's session, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our speakers, panelists, and participants for sharing your time, insights, and experiences. We look forward to continuing this journey together, and thank you all, and I wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you. The snacks and tea has been served. Please take that. Thank you.